I can still see
There we
you
are.
now. Nice live. Well, I guess that's that.
This is the issue. This is the main issue with Hangouts, is that there isn't actually a big countdown number on the screen, so I have no idea when it's beginning to start. So, hello. There is only two of us now. Welcome back to the Great Marriage role-playing actual Burning Wheel play.
That's a good one.
It's been a while. After last time, we had some issues reconvening for our next session, since we were running in 3 different time zones. And at the start of the campaign, we'd thought this would be okay, and then it swiftly turned out to be less okay than we thought. Yeah.
Looking back at if you look at the YouTube upload rates, right? It's 3 months ago, 3 months ago, 3 months ago, 3 months ago, 2 months ago, 1 month ago.
Yeah, it ran out of steam pretty quickly, right? Like, as soon as people stopped being the new game super excitement, which is definitely a thing that's distinct from enjoying a game every week. As soon as that
winter.
Oh yeah. Also, it was holiday
shit.
season and Christmas. Everyone's going on holiday. Yeah.
Killer role-playing campaigns.
Yeah.
Father Christmas.
Every single time. Yeah. So we have decided that we want to keep it going. Me and Liba chatted about what we wanted to do next, and we were both interested in keeping this this area of the world going and continuing to tell the story of Surya Balan in her search for eternal life. In her search for knowledge more than specifically the
it
goal
helps,
for its
right?
own sake.
The stepping stone.
Yeah. I mean, it's also an ultimate prize of knowledge, right? It's the big "I told you so."
I told you so. See, I could do it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, the end of the situation last time, we had been exploring. Is that actually on this? Yes, we'd been exploring the tomb. I wonder if we've still got the map that Jen.
Oh yeah, that's a bad. Yeah, prison. I don't think it's that map. Oh man, that's a Jen map. That's a good map.
Yeah.
It ended fairly well. I wasn't hurt, so that's a big upside.
Yeah, so we ended it. I think the very last action to be taken was that Kilu strode back into the room to attempt to stamp on the collapsed monster until it died, and failed the roll, which at the time I interpreted as meaning that she'd failed to kill it, that this thing's monstrous regenerative powers would bring it back to life at some point. I'm not entirely sure whether that's still necessarily true. I think there is a question mark on whether this thing survived. But I spoke to Lee and the ex-players since then, and they don't care about me killing their characters off. So I think the way that the end of this scenario is probably the best to interpret is that Teotzin proved impossible to cure. He continued vomiting up blood, and then died of a of an illness that left him. Yeah, it
With
was
leprosy.
well, not within Suria's ability to cure him of.
Mm.
And I think Kilu breathing in this huge amount of gas. I think Surya sees her like walking past, no longer muttering to herself, but like talking fully out loud to the voices in her head, and staring around wildly, looking, perhaps even moving on all fours. Having forgotten some of her like the things that she was carrying around, letting them like drop onto the ground. And she, having lost her mind, wanders off into the forest, moving generally northwards into the trees. So in principle, that character is still existing in the
Around,
world.
you know.
But I
Like, who
don't
knows?
know. It is
We
possible we will see Kulu again. I will say that it is possible.
you think we'll ever see what's his Tiatzen again?
No, Teotzin's dead. It's simpler that way.
That-
Like
okay.
there was always going to be originally I'd written out the rules for the this mist to be less lethal and more like horrific long-term consequences.
Mhm.
As in, I was originally intending it for it to be a long-term clock that the characters were racing against, like an illness that there is only two ways out of, one of which is very difficult, and the other of which is to just die. And yeah, if you'd failed some health tests, you'd have been on. He probably couldn't have passed the health test at the point he was at, right? He'd like taken big.
Probably not.
No, he'd taken big breaths like twice and failed two fort tests, so he'd have been at a significant disadvantage, and he doesn't have high fort to begin with. So, yes, rest in peace, Tilson.
How close was he to his like, Fort 5? Though? He was one test away. Rip.
Yeah, unfortunately, he wasn't going to get to make another fort test before he had to make the health test, and the health test would have been.
Oh, yeah, that's not enough dice.
Let's look at this. I think I've got this visible now. Tlalpana, Cavern of Red Mist. I wrote it up. So looking at the original mechanic, Putrefying Breath, base ob is 3 plus 1 per failure. So he would have been at ob 5.
I could have made it. Put in
Yeah.
Persona, you know.
Yeah, so he could have made it.
Just barely.
So you'd retrieved the sealed copy of the sealed box containing lab notes and a letter. There was a corpse left tied to the wall wearing the decayed form of a pattern that you thought you recognized, that you thought was the same pattern you wear, because like it seems like that corpse could be Demang Labat, but you never had the time to examine it in detail. And you took a sample from a strange white tree growing underground and under a thin shaft of light, taking a sample of its bark. The tree seemed to counteract the red mist produced by
Yeah.
this monster, turning it into ordinary water white mist, and I think you've also got a sample of that purified mist, which is like I think I will tell you this for free. Saria does some further testing on this purified sample and finds it to be like ordinary water with high impurities of various sorts, but like just
It's drinkable.
yeah, it's water with like mixed up random biological and decayed other. It's mostly water, right? In the same in
80%.
yeah in the same way that a very dirty stream is water. This is still water. It's not.
Okay.
Yeah.
I get you now.
Because like yeah. Um.
So we were talking early on about like how we're going to sort of resolve what's left here, and whether or
Yeah.
not we want to do some dice rolls for that, and like elite the the actual like time we'll have to spend here, like she spends here before we run off. What I will say, like, I think Surya's goals are probably mainly to do with like basically finishing off like what she started, right? She was going to the history room and like figuring out what was going on with that. She
Yeah.
was going with like the gift room and trying to figure out what was that. And like, there's one more room
The
that you
blessing
need to
room.
go into. Yeah.
So I think as you go into the blessing, like, and going back into the blessing room, I think Surya would have noticed the sound of movement coming along the tunnel, and possibly of hushed whispers. Um,
Ooh. So like from the exit, you mean like?
yeah, from the flooded tunnel. Like it's flooded to about chest height, right? In fact, it would have been quite noisy movement. Because it sounds like I mean, I'm not gonna push this. Like I feel like I could push this and be all coy. The sound of like three people moving through the water towards this, right?
Like three people, one of them sounding like
Bitchy.
well, two of them sounding yeah, one of them is bitch, and the other two of them like sounding like they're humoring her.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Your message is received.
Um.
Loud and clear.
Yeah. So they managed to find like the thing. Like they originally would have found this way in, and then wrote it off because it was like flooded, and were looking for a different way in when they were exploring the maze of the temple.
Mm-hmm.
They gave up on the main maze because you guys were there and because it looked like a pain. And so they
What?
come back. They come back from this direction, and would have
Oh, is there
turned up.
something? Is there something here to do with the tides or something? Like it was more flooded at a certain specific time? Because I remember you being like super like they're leaving for some reason halfway through this.
They were leaving. The reason they were leaving was twofold, right? It's one because we'd kind of exhausted any possibility for conflict with them that wasn't get into combat. Two, because like I didn't want them there to like mess with the like potential player to player like conversations that needed to happen. And because like I felt confident I could write them back into the story at a more opportune moment, like using one of several methods. Because like, let's be real, I didn't want a map for this place because I wanted to just be able to say, oh yeah, there's another corridor at the back.
Right, like,
Yeah. Like there's a second one of the ideas I had was having another second like big vault door at the back there somewhere. That they just pop through themselves at an inopportune moment and say, "We are taking the treasure and your lives." Haha.
had that be
How about the? Yeah, I feel like NPC parties are interesting because you want them to be like. I feel like the where I'm going to with this is like young adult fiction conflict where they come into a scene, they're like, haha, we're gonna mess with you, but we're not gonna get killed because you want to see us again, like because you've said you want to see us again. So if you just kill us, right? We're in the middle of the jungle, there's nothing stopping you. but if you do, then it's less interesting. So please don't.
Or
but
like
like
this
there's
random plot stuff happens to prevent it.
pretty much, right? Like like you have to kind of move in that direction. I will say one thing I'm disappointed about is no one had the opportunity to spend Persona to like try and survive something, because I had a really good idea of what to do for that.
Oh no.
Yeah, so like hearing the others like coming this direction, I guess like I don't expect Surya hangs around.
I feel like she probably tries to hide instead.
Okay,
Like
yeah.
the idea being like, yeah, they're here, but there's still stuff I need to check out.
Mm.
Right. So, like you
So I
could
guess
probably like
you go back
hit
upstairs
back
to the
out.
yeah, you
Yeah.
go upstairs to the main chamber and just hide. Like they're not gonna go up there really. Like you just close the go up to the main chamber and take the gold out. You can get back in anytime you like because you know what the key is.
The gold out is actually the gold is already out.
Gold is already
Actually.
gone. Yeah.
Yeah, because remember who took it?
Oh yeah, Johnson took it.
Hashtag, fuck
Did
you,
you?
Will. You can't see me right now, but there's 2 fingers up for you.
Oh, that's why we want. That's why we want the upgraded cameras, isn't it? Is you just want to be able to flip people off. You just want to flip me off.
It's good use. Good use of visuals.
Yeah. So then I guess so then the next thing is you open up the box, and on the top of the box there is a letter that is on a single, like it's a single roll of like a single piece of paper that's obviously one of like a page from a notebook or that's been cut out with a knife, and then very carefully written on. This is prepared to a higher quality. Like this isn't just notes. This is like a letter. And I was originally gonna like, do you want to read this out yourself, or do you want to like me to just read it out to you? Because I was originally gonna like send you the text so like you could read it out in character to the other characters.
Well, they're dead now, so
They're dead now.
you can read it in the voice of the NPC who wrote it.
I haven't invented a voice for this character.
Oh, perfect. This is the perfect moment to decide on that voice. And remember it 10 sessions later when you're like, oh, it's this NPC. It's the high squeaky voice now.
Yeah. So it says, Dear reader, greetings. We congratulate you on your skill in defeating our demon. We give you 2 warnings and an invitation. This may have looked like a failed experiment. It was in fact an unstarted one. We'd maintained the subject's stability through the putrefactive and exuberative processes, and we're looking to use the 3rd sample provided to guide him through the purgative. The subject's condition is intentional. May you take it as a warning of our skill and power. All knowledge will one day be granted to mankind. The corpse within our demon's chamber is our 2nd warning. Do not imitate this fool, the one named Demang Labat, and try to uncover us, to spread this knowledge too early. We knew how you'd discovered this place and spoken of it. We allowed him to come here, and left him to breathe deeply his punishment. You, of course, are more sensible than him. We are the bud of the lotus. We came here to learn, and have taken all we needed to do so away with us. We invite a discreet and skillful fellow seeker to come join us. Follow the trail the architect of this place left for us. Follow the stars, and meet us in the vault at the Otson town of Quaquatzil. Let us take the 3rd step towards the great marriage together.
Cool. I think like if this is like a series of like vignettes, there's probably like tears like dropping on the letter itself. And the word? A look of resolve on like Surya's face when we see it. I do want to know how like you spelled that Quetzal.
Yeah,
Okay,
I've
there
inserted the full text of the letter as a handout. So
I see it. Let me just replace that. Perfect. You said there was a book in it as well?
yes, so beneath these lab notes, so beneath this letter, there is a assorted sheafs of notes and comments on the process that was used to create the monster in that room. It essentially relies on preparing the subject to receive certain antecedents as completely and like the correct method to prepare them to receive those antecedents without dying or going immediately insane. And commentary on this process in the way that you'd expect for someone who's very familiar with it, who's done this experiment many times before, and is mostly focused on how the initial and normal parameters that they need to focus on need to be focused for this subject in specifically. That's the bulk of it. Yeah, and then right at the end, right at the top of this, just below the letter, so the most recent stuff added to the notes in chronological order. There's some commentary on that seems to be a different methodology. So instead of saying like we need to keep him stable, we need to keep like his like talking about how he was still maintaining complete human form, instead go in the opposite direction and saying we need to take off the safeguards, we need to move the concentration upwards and initiate as much of the change as possible as quickly as possible.
Are any of these things dated?
I think yes. I think there are some things that are dated, but I think it's a case where they've gone through their notes. They know that they're leaving breadcrumbs here, right? So there's nothing you can actually you can't repeat these experiments because they talk about two antecedents that are very specific. I think they're referred to as the red earth and the yellow flowers, or the yellow moss, alternately. Yes, the red earth and the yellow moss.
And that's probably like code for something, right? Like it's a way of being like, oh, when you talk about Mercury, you aren't talking about the planet Mercury, right? You're talking about a material Mercury.
Yeah.
Right. Same idea there.
Yeah. This is either a specific thing that is like very rare, or it's a thing that's like common but being referred to by coded names. Like maybe both of these are a substance that is created by another long process, but like that process, like maybe it's like saying vodka or something, right? Like that's a substance that is distinct from anything else, but is created by a long process. We don't have to detail that you need to put pure alcohol into a recipe. Sorry, we don't need to detail the process of making pure alcohol to say then add pure alcohol to this recipe. So it's the same thing. You can't really tell much about these two substances. But you know that they used this yellow moss and red earth in order to do this. They mention they do also mention using, like, preparing him for the use of the third of the white bark, right? The third stage, which is like they talk about the new sample, and they talk about the tree, right?
Right.
So that
So like
they haven't bothered coding themselves as much because this
it's freaking obvious.
Yeah. But going back to your question, going through the notes, I think they have gone through and tried to remove certain more telling. They've not made a very thorough job of it, because they were still acting in a hurry to some extent.
Yeah.
But they did go through and try and remove some of the details.
Right.
So hey, I mean, we could just do a like really weird roll here.
Right,
I don't know.
cool. I love weird rolls.
Yeah, cool.
Big fan of upping weird rolls.
Yeah, because you care about this, and like I think like there is a failure, which is we just say you don't know how long ago it was, right?
Is this what would this roll even be? Is this like a perception roll? It's just like
perception, maybe research. I can't remember when did Demandelbart actually leave. That's the question.
I don't think it was ever like established properly.
It wasn't established. Yeah, so he's been banished. Okay. Yeah, so their writings only recently entered circulation. So I think you could guess between, like, he found out this place existed between 2 years and 1 year ago.
Okay.
So if you wanted a more exact date than that, then like we could do this, but I don't know that there's much.
The reason why I'm asking is like I want to figure out like how long the trail has like sort of gone cold here.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Like, it's about like how much time has passed, because it seems like they've already got like there's 4 steps to the process, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
And like if they've collected 3 separate like resources, it might be the case that they're all really like they said, getting the 3rd step. Which means I'm missing 2 steps. Which is fun. I'm gonna have to change some of my beliefs again.
That's the whole point of this session, is like I knew that the rest of your beliefs wouldn't be valid going forward to the next arc. So we need to spend some so like after we finish going through this like wrap up of like loose ends that have to be wrapped up, then we're going to work out what the next scenario is and write new beliefs for it.
Because I've already I was like, oh, I can just write new beliefs for this. And now I'm being told, like, no, there's more stuff. Now I gotta write new beliefs again.
Yeah.
Which is, that's cool. I've got some cool new ideas now.
Yeah, so maybe maybe a perception or research. Maybe no.
Maybe what?
Maybe perception, just versus, because it's like anything, because you're trying to see if you notice anything that they missed, right?
Sort of missed. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, they've definitely got a perception of 6.
Just like roll well on your perception test.
Yeah.
I'm not spending the persona. I've only got 3. Yeah, that's a good roll. Oh, hang on. That doesn't work, does it? Ollie, you rolled badly.
Oh! No, 6 versus 4. Oh, 6 versus 4 isn't routine. Okay, well, you succeed. Yeah.
You think I got bait? Oh no, this is evens, right?
Hmm?
So I actually fail
What?
because it's an even. If I'm playing defense here, presumably. Yeah, they're
They're
playing
playing
defense,
defense. Yeah.
which means I have to spend fate.
Yeah.
Explosion. 6
Okay.
successes. Damn it,
Nice.
Ollie! Could you not have rolled one more success?
So, sorry. That's a genuine apology. Like, I know what this feels like. It's miserable.
I'm okay. 6 perception is already pretty high. I'm not.
So, I think you work out that they didn't really turn up. Like, they didn't turn up here in force until, I think it was about probably 6 months ago. But they were only here about 3 or 4 weeks before they left. It's been this place has been left empty for the majority of the time, right? It seems like they turned up here, and immediately, like, having scouted the place out, they came here with a larger party to like inhabit it and do all their experiments here. And then about 3 weeks into that process, Domain Labat turns up, knocks on the door, gets in through one of the entrances to this place, and just starts wandering around, and gets caught very quickly. Yeah, so they've had a while since then.
Roughly like 5 months.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the like tree. That's the book and the box.
That's the book in the box. I think it takes you a while to read through this stuff. You've still got your pack. You've still got, I guess, you can probably, yeah, it's probably not difficult for you to assume that, like, you wait long enough that the others would have left.
We got time to do some reading.
And yeah, when you go back downstairs, I think you see I think Teotzin's body, which was like laid out in the gift, in like the first antechamber to the experiment chambers, right? The one that
I thought
had.
we brought him out.
Did you bring? Well, I don't know where you would have left him. Did you bring him all the way out with you?
I
Or
think
did you?
like, yeah, because if I remember correctly, what happened was like the place flooded, and then Kilu was like, "All right, I'm gonna go back in," but like everyone else was out by then.
Yeah. But it's like I when you were talking about bringing people out, you were talking about bringing them out to like the second room before, or the first main chamber. I'm talking about like just now, in the heavily elided scenes with just you and Tepiani walking around the place. Would you and Tepiani have dragged Teotzin's body upstairs with you after hearing Kana's party coming back?
I mean, I don't think we'd have the time for it.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, in that case, the thing that I just giggled to myself about has happened. Kana has looted Teotzin's corpse and taken the gold.
My gold! Gold! Motherfucker! Fucking adventurous, man. He didn't even have like a sword. There's nothing left to loot of value.
What did he have?
Like that, I guess.
Medical tools, clothes, small house. Didn't have that with him. Traveling gear.
If he had a deed to a small house.
We'll just cross the melted jewelry off his resources list because
She didn't take his knife, did she?
Oh.
I'm taking that knife.
You took his knife. Wow.
Look, I need a weapon.
You
Burn the corpse, we'll be done.
Yep. Okay, you've got a knife now. Like, you could have gone down the shops and just bought one of those with like actual normal money, but
Oh, like this is for the Hudson's killers. I'm gonna find them and stab them.
You know what killed
Anyway.
Hudson? It's down there still, I guess.
Is it though? Is it what killed him?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
or the people who set all this in motion?
You're right. That's a much better belief to have.
I'm still not gonna write that belief, but
Okay.
you're right. It is a good one.
You're a great traveling companion.
Look, I got bigger things to worry about than Teo.
He's dead, right? Who cares? Cool. So is there any other like those are the only things that I absolutely had to give you to make things make sense. Is there anything else that you did while you were here?
Probably like just collected a bunch of samples and then checked the blessing room out. Like basically I want like a run like
Yeah.
to complete the like work, the study of this place that I was doing, right?
Yeah. So the blessing room. Okay. I had an idea for this, but I feel like I've forgotten it. No, I haven't forgotten it. I didn't write it down in full. That's why I'm having troubles there. Yeah, the blessing room is just like it is a blessing. It is written in religious speak. It is the honored and cherished ancestors wishing well upon their descendants, and listing out like there's some genealogical stuff in there. There's some commentary on like who founded this city, who founded this temple, and like which city it was that caused it to be established here, and the name of the of all these people and the name of the city itself. Like you've never come across them. They just sound like ancient Otson names that probably got swallowed up in the jungle long ago. Yeah, I think it's a touching blessing, but it isn't a useful, right?
Yeah,
It doesn't tell you anything. It's here because it's important to people writing it, rather than because it's useful to you.
I think what I am doing though is like sort of making, what's the word for it? It's where you like take charcoal and like rub it over stuff.
Oh, rubbings, yeah.
Yeah, like for the historical record.
Okay.
Like this. All right, let's just I guess make sure we've got all of it, and then like leave once we have.
I guess Tepiani. Tepiani probably like. I think he doesn't quite refuse to leave. He just hangs back. Like when you say, "Okay, it's time to go," like he hangs back and he's like looking back over his shoulder towards the room with the monster in.
Mm-hmm.
I think he turns back to you and says, "What about in Otson? I don't know how it is for you, but we always it's important to us. It's the most important to us to make sure that our ancestors are buried properly." Surya, if that really is your father's, shouldn't we do something about it?
In Chandrapo, ensuring your parents' killers are brought to justice is more important. And I think she was probably like holding Theo's knife. Like she puts it like yeah, she's probably got like a belt of some sort and like slots it into a holster of some sort and like just walks out.
Yeah, and I guess yeah, you walk out um and Teotsin is still down there. I think he's like struggling to hoist Teotsin's corpse over one shoulder, and behind him another thick bank of red mist rolls down out of this doorway, where the corpse of Demang Labat is left to rest. Yeah, okay. And then the very last thing, as you're making your way down to the boat, I expect you bury Teotsin here, or you put him in alongside one of the ancestors in this place, right? Like, do you
Yeah,
dig a hole for him, or do you try and put him
I wonder
in?
about that because I suspect like Surya just like differs to uh Tepiani for this.
I think Tepiani says like they ought to try and like there ought to be a priest here. Um, I don't think he knows what the correct response is if there's not a priest, right? He's been a soldier before, but he's not really been in like someone who wandered around. Yeah, he's been a page and a bondsman. Yeah, so he's been a very low level soldier before. But that means that he would have had access to someone who was a priest, to or like someone in charge to make decisions about this kind of thing.
What was the like route of our exit?
Route of the exit would be up through the
Sorry,
up through the exit.
not like the pyramid itself, right? Like what? Like vaguely remember we came here like by boat, but was there like a ship out there waiting for us?
There was, yeah. Like you'd
Right,
said to
like
them, like wait for this long, and then if we're not back by the time that like the storm season is about to start, feel free to go home because you'll all die anyway.
yeah.
Right?
So like
If you decided to take like 4 weeks longer and stick around here, then you'd be returning overland. But you didn't, so you've got like
be fun lad trip.
yeah. I don't
The
think there's
reason why
anything. There's no interesting failure there because it's like it's a really big role that just ends the campaign if you fail it, because you die in the jungle.
the reason why I asked is basically like she's doing the math on like okay, what happens if like preserve the corpse and bring it over? How long would that take?
Mm. Yeah, if you know how to like, if you've got a good idea on preserving the corpse, then sure. But like, it's gonna be it's going to be several days downriver, right? It took you, I think, it probably took you 2 weeks to get up here, and that will take it'll take a lot longer going upriver than it does go down. Because you've also got to scout the trail for the first. Like anytime there's a waterfall, that could be a 3-day diversion.
I'm not dealing with this shit. This fucking
Yeah.
superstition.
So on the way back, it would probably be a week, right?
I think what Surya does is like if Debiani is still like hesitating on that when she asks him that question, she's like, leave him with the ancestors, I guess. Say the prayers you know and hope that's best we have. If
Yeah,
the
so
others wish, Maud Zola can always send somebody to ensure the proper words are said.
yes, of course you're right. I'm sure Moratzola will send someone. He's been a priest for a very long time. Yeah. So I guess you watch as Tepiani kind of awkwardly prepares this body. Like, I guess he looks like he looks around for some sort of burial jewelry to bury him with, and ends up like taking it off another another of these corpses.
We can share, you know, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's a bit
He
of
like he awkwardly like does about half of 2 different prayers. Like while you watch in silence next to him. And yeah, he doesn't really wrap the body because he doesn't have anything to wrap it with. But he makes sure to cover the face in the same way that the other faces are covered.
I think like when like it's appropriate, Surya probably just steps up. Like, you know how like people do like the whole here, like let's speak some words thing. She steps up and just says like, your songs were beautiful, and I'm sorry. And I guess we leave.
Yeah. And as you climb into the boat and the sun begins to set over the cliff above the top of the temple, it for a moment it like the sun sits directly above the very pinnacle of the temple, and then as the sun sinks to halfway obscured by the cliff's edge, you see 2 figures appearing as if from nowhere at the very top level. They're silhouetted against the sun for a moment, and then as it dips, you begin to see them more clearly. They're both very pale, quite tall, hairless, and wearing rich, deep red robes. And as they watch you, one of the monstrous cat you saw before appears from around the back of the temple and comes to sit next to one of them, and they raise a hand to pet its head and then disappear back inside the door of the temple.
Very interesting. All right. I'm gonna need a few moments. So do we want to like take a 5 minutes break and then come
Yeah,
back to this?
cool. 5-10 minutes. Don't mind.
Yeah.
Cool. See you in a bit.
All right.
Yes, I'm back as well.
All right.
Cool. Great. So I guess we now move on to step 3: set up new situation and new beliefs. So shall we? Let's do the sensible thing. Let's objects and tokens. Shrink this down to microscopic size. Put it in the corner, and just start typing here. There we are.
Rendering looks really cool when it's really small. All right.
Good. So, things to define about. So name of the town is I've got it written down. It'll it'll eventually stick in my mind easily. Chuaquetzal. There we are.
I forgot I had an item in my inventory which just says bad banana jar. I think it was from the lab, probably.
It
Bad
was.
banana in a jar.
Yeah. Yeah, you just scraped up some random stuff and you just put it in a jar. It may even have been part of a corpse. It may even have been part of a.
No. It was a banana.
It was
Right.
specifically banana.
Very specifically banana. I wouldn't write banana jar if there wasn't a banana involved.
Yeah, so you've got some lovely, extremely decayed banana.
Like one of the reasons I've like shifted one of the instincts that never turn down the opportunity to collect rare antecedents is like just her behavior in general.
Yeah. In fact, let's open up. What do you have the? Is this in the book? The list of situation questions.
It's in the codex. I thought we had that. Like if
Yeah.
you check one of the,
Oh yeah, I've got that. I've got that myself in a different
should have
tab. Yeah. So I can go here, and I can grab GM info. Is it? No, it's map. Copy and paste. Okay, so we can skip most of these, but they're probably useful still. Physical place, ecology, antagonists. I think this is enough. So there's several. I think there's several things that we can add in, like big picture elements, and yeah, I'm not entirely sure about what the best way to do this is. If we'd been all together as a group, I'd have just spent some time describing my idea of this city, and then like asked if there was things you wanted to add or change.
right.
I think there's a few points that I think I will just directly say that I think should be included. I think number one, Oxen Sage is in town. Like he's part of this situation. He is in this city, and in his great old age, up to something, or possibly retired.
Yeah.
No, okay. He is definitely right. It's one of those like ex revolutionary general things where he has made it very clear that he's retired, but he's retired to a large city where everyone can still come and talk to him. So like quite off like
The retired emperor trope.
yeah, I'm not doing any more work. I'm definitely retired, but I will get very offended if the person who's been chosen to like be the next general isn't gonna come to me and ask
Talk to
permission,
me.
right? Or like if the person who's choosing who gets sent on the trade envoy isn't the person that I think should be going. I'm gonna make it really clear to whoever chose that they are
Wrong
incompetent
and
and a
feel
mess.
wrong.
Yeah, so like in principle, because he's very old. He's like in his 70s or 80s, I think. And yeah, so living in whoops um, official retirement. Um,
I like that you put it in like this capital letters.
yeah. As we know, Bard of the Lotus is in town working. We've been told about the Bud of the Lotus now, and we know they're here. I think I mentioned like I don't think this is a thing I need to hide from you, the player, but I think it may be a thing that the character needs to be shown.
Not
Like,
no.
well, maybe we need to show the character discovering this. Maybe we don't need to. But like, I'll let you decide this because I don't see there's any necessary. Like, if you're interested in doing it, then we can go for it. But
Right.
so the vault itself is located at the bottom of one of our delightful downward stepped tombs. So the
Yeah,
edge
I
is
think like it would like be a logical leap to be like it is going to have to be one of these old buildings,
yeah.
and like the matter of which one it is just down to like checking the historical record and
It's not
figuring
even
out.
like if you do the maths on the astronomy exactly enough, you will get there within like 6 feet, right? You will be
Hmm.
within 6 feet of the exact place you need to be. So
Yeah,
I
I
don't think
don't
it's
think like
yeah
that's the interesting bit of this specific
yeah
situation. Like we know what fault is. The trick is getting to it.
yeah. I expect like there could quite easily be a scene where so, like where Surya is like Sarah could quite easily have visited the vault door itself, right? She could have gone there escorted by a temple guard because they regard this place as a holy of holies, not to be entered by anyone. But
Mhm.
like they will quite happily show it to people because it is like it's like these big
It's a point of
open
pride.
stepped these yeah, it's a point of pride, and these big open step tombs aren't open because like no one's allowed in. They're open because you're not allowed into the individual tombs. Obviously, that's why we have massive stone doors and guards.
Hmm.
But you're meant to go like I think in front of some of the tomb doors, you'd see like little alcoves for offerings that like the offerings in the alcoves will always be fresh because each family makes sure to come down there and replenish them. Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah, so going to the front of the vault doors, you can just do that, right? And that's probably a thing that has happened. It's a cool place to set a conversation scene eventually if you want to. Yeah. I had the idea that there might be. I want to bring back in the idea of like refugees from Chandrapur.
I'm still like weirdly on the fence on that one. I don't mind that as like background like churn.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if like I'm still deciding on how much I want to make that a foreground thing with my beliefs specifically. Like
Yeah. Okay.
I'm perfectly happy for you to just like, yeah, this is a thing that's happening, Lee. Here's like a person who's come to you asking for help, stuff like that.
Okay.
I'm happy for that. But a lot of this will depend on what sort of decisions I make for my beliefs, like right after we go through this.
Yeah,
as
once
well.
we've got the beliefs written down, I'll be able to decide what I really want to do with it. Because it could be that like I end up using this mostly as a like, okay, you've said that are you sure you really want to just care about knowledge because like there's these people who actually need help. Yeah, so I guess there might, and then there's two things going on with that because just saying there's refugees around the outside of the city, that's not unstable enough to push action. So I think there are rumors currently of a plague in the refugee camps. There is definitely a plague, right? But it's not reached the like people are being left in their houses to die, and like people like it's not reached the body collection carts level, right?
Right.
There
But
is
it is happening.
there is a
There is a quarantine.
yeah, there's a significant and deadly disease going around. It's killing some people. I don't know. Like, I think one of the things about refugee camps before modern times is that they'd be even less coordinated, and like you'd have no way of knowing exactly how bad it was until you walk down the street and you see how bad it. Yeah, and you'd have to really explore and work it out.
Okay, so I guess we add like the plate thing on there as well.
Yeah. There's a plague going on in the refugee camps, and inside the city, I think there's a group or a section of people who are making like really vocal demonstrations against these refugees, and pressuring people in power to try and get them to like what like there's some sort of nationalist group. I might even name them. I'm not sure what I'd name them though. Because my immediate analogs go a bit too modern sounding.
I mean, this is like a very well. I guess it's not a very modern problem.
It's a little bit modern, and yeah, it's
current, but it is also like an age-old problem, right? Like
yeah,
it's the same story you've heard when like was it the Goths or like the Romans, those dudes.
Like the Romans wouldn't have necessarily have organized themselves with a name. I guess I could just call them like the like something very simple, like the Reds or something, right? That would be Hey, maybe it's just a clothing thing. Like they're all just going around wearing old military jackets, right?
Or like there's a band
when they
of
yeah
oh,
when
the
they get
jacket.
together to do to demonstrate and march and shout their slogans, they go upstairs and they get their fathers or grandfathers old war military jackets and put those on. And there's replica ones as well, like bad quality.
People
But
don't have them.
yeah. Um, um,
The jackets.
yeah, it could be the jackets. Could be the volunteers, right? Like they're saying we need to kick these out. We're the volunteers. I don't know.
I think like the name we can figure out later.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't feel like it's. Well, I guess it depends once again, right? Like if it comes up as like the big thing, then we're going to have to figure out a name for them.
Well, one thing that they're demonstrating against people from Chandrapur in general, but refugees in particular. So you don't quite fit into their category of people we really hate, because you're too obviously well dressed and not from
You're
the
on the
correct
edge.
class. But yeah, you're on the edges, and this is always a thing that could they could quite easily shift targets to you specifically if you put yourself in a situation to let them, right? Which is the yeah, this is I guess always the case where you have people on the edges of a group. It's like, do you help or do you just ignore it and stay safe? Was there anything else? Traditional faction. Oh yeah. Kana is doing question mark things. Good.
Halfway through, it's just like, hey, when did you become a priestess?
That's ridiculous. Yeah. Oh yeah, hang on. Sorry, I need to. Yeah, I'll make a note.
You got it.
Oh no, I'll make a note of that somewhere else. It's fine. That doesn't need to go here.
Are you sure?
Yep, doesn't matter. He's still. Oh no! Hang on. Yeah.
I have no clue what you're talking about, Ollie.
I'm muttering to myself because I'm reading my notes, and some of it's not relevant. Because there's it's not an anti-refugee movement. It is a monarchist movement.
It's like a lot of movements going on here.
They've swapped. They've got broader goals, right? in favor of establishing strong leadership under OS, Hot Sage. I really need to name him.
That's Operating system is like not the best name for a person.
Yeah. I think that's all the things that I came up with before and was like, I really like this idea.
I think like one of the reasons why I'm kind of wary of like the refugees thing
Mm.
in the first place is like I don't want to say it's close to home, but it is like I have like a sense of like discomfort with it.
Okay.
Like not to the degree that like I'm just like, no, I don't want this in the game.
Yeah.
But also something like which is like maybe I don't want to like go too deep into it either. I'm like in a really weird space with this thing.
Okay. Would you feel better about leaving it out entirely, or about like just shifting things around so the focus isn't there?
That's the thing, right? Like
Because
I'm not sure. So
I
I
doubt
think
we'd go into it in huge
detail anyway.
detail. Like the only detail I can see us going into is like looking into like the problems that are going on there, or looking or having specific characters in that situation, like asking for help or trying to like it would either be like you looking at it in a very general sense as a character, or us looking at it with individuals from there. Like I don't think we'd be focusing on it that much.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm happy with that, right? Like uh I'll just check in every once in a while if like I do feel like I'm not sure how to like speak about it really, but there is some weirdness I'm feeling right now,
It
which
doesn't
is
sound
why
like it doesn't sound like you're like if you were feeling really negative about it, I'd be like, I don't. Okay, like
I'm not
the
feeling
easy
like
way to do it is to say let's not go here at all, because me trying to guess where your lines are and then not step over those is like I'm just gonna. It doesn't actually work. Like I'm more likely to just say something that does make you uncomfortable, and then and then afterwards you'd have to say actually that was not a thing I wanted to explore in as much right. So if that was the case, then it's like let's just not do it at all so that we dodge it.
So I think what I will say is like there is some discomfort, but it's not like I'm not going to be like that's not okay from like the degree we're speaking of it right now. Right? Like that's sort of where I am, and like yeah, that's what I got on that.
Where would
Like
the red lines be in that case?
it is not like red lights in terms of like I'm personally gonna be like, oh no, this is like super bad. How do I put this? All right, the reason why like I'm feeling a bit weird about this is because like I used to do like work with like the UNHCR, right? Like
Yeah.
and like interact with actual refugees and stuff like
Yeah.
that, and like it feels a bit like off to be like using the same scenario here. And that is like I understand in themselves, like that is a weird thing to be like, this is where you feel weird and uncomfortable, but I do.
Okay.
But it's not to the degree where I feel like at this point I'm gonna be like at some point I'm gonna be like, oh no, I'm out, Ale. That was horrifying. Right? It's just that like there's some degree of like discomfort to like the idea of using it. Does that make sense?
I get it. Like the reason I wanted to include the refugees as an angle was because like it fits into one of the core themes of this setting, which is that like what happens when you give individual people lots of power, they start pursuing grand political aims, right? The reason these refugees are here is because of what the Otson Sage did in the past, right? If he hadn't risen up and won a war against Chandrapur, these refugees would be in power in Chandrapur. They would never have been in a situation to have this happen to them. And conversely, your people would be living in a classic colonial, like colonized country. So
Yeah.
it's odd to me because like I recognize that there's a need to like explore these things. Like it is really valid that you feel uncomfortable. But the reason I want to include it is because I want to explore ways that it can be really uncomfortable. And on a broad like setting and logic level, like I am absolutely using this as a pushing point. Like that's the reason I want to include it.
There is there was like a conundrum I was thinking of like previously about like how you determine like how like time sort of legitimizes conquest effectively.
Yeah.
But like if you look even further back, that's just like multiple conquests being legitimized previously from the original one. Or like multiple like how to put it? Yeah, like time is a legitimizer for conquest, but like how do you figure out like what is actually legitimate if not time?
Yeah. Okay.
And like this sort of feeds into that. I think like I said, I doubt there is a point at which I'm going to be like, I'm so uncomfortable, Ollie, I'm like quitting this game, right?
Okay.
So like if it gets to that point, I'll say something. But I doubt it.
I guess I am likely to forget about this, so please check in because please check back in and just like tell me how things are going. Like tell me if I'm moving in the wrong direction with stuff.
Right. That's all right. Yeah. Happy to do that.
If we get close, like when we get closer to the point where it's like I'm making like if I'm thinking about doing certain things, I might ask you like out of character and then just ask you to pretend to be surprised.
Not like we don't already do that about.
Yeah.
What colors here? Get out.
Yeah. Okay, that's good to talk about. Is there anything else, right? Is there other stuff we also want to include? Is there other stuff that we want to to look at or include? I will say immediately, we need to do something with the assemblage.
Right. Like that's definitely a thing I do want to pursue. I'm trying to figure out how to like bring them in a strong way right now. Because I want like contact reassemblage and with my mentor in general. And I think like I could just write a brief about it. But as to what the assemblage is doing here is like a question of like the degree to there is like a network here, I feel. And the thing with this is like it's a secret society doing secret society bullshit.
Yes. Yeah. So like that's I imagine in 2 lines it's like the let's gather knowledge and do experiments line, and it's the let's enhance our like use our
ability
knowledge
to do knowledge
to just do things as well, right? Let's achieve political goals, or yeah. So if you've got ideas, then I'm happy to just like include those just straight in whole cloth. If you haven't, I'll come up with something. I absolutely will come up with something good, but it will take some time. Like if you don't like
Yeah,
the
I don't
simplest,
immediately have
yeah,
like
the
a
simplest
thing which
thing is just to write a belief saying like, I'm going to ask for the assemblage's help with something.
right. Yeah.
The step one level up from that is saying like, is defining something about the assemblage for me, and then saying you want their help as well, right?
Sorry, could you repeat that? Like
Is
defining something.
defining something about the assemblage for me, and then also saying you want their help. So like saying, I know that there is a lab here in the city that is working on X problem or is producing Y thing, right? Or that is like that there's one person in the city who's known to me as a secret assemblage member. Because writing like I prefer it, especially for a startup scenario thing, I prefer that to the like slightly more vague like there is a person, because like I don't have to have the information on who it is you're going to talk to before you make the circles roll, but it does allow me
It
to
does
maybe
help
come up
to
with a more interesting idea than whatever the first thing that pops into my head is.
Yeah. What could like be immediately done here? I wonder if it's just more like gathering information on the stage. Right. I wonder if this is sort of like the keeping of tabs on like here is a powerful known figure in the world and like how they will affect the world. Right? Because sages are serious shit. And serious shit needs to be like watched. And I'm wondering if like this one is just like sort of a listening post in a sense.
Okay, so this spying on him, that's great. I think they might not need to be up to anything else. I think that might be enough for them.
Yeah. I'm sure like the individual members probably have their own like little side projects.
Yeah.
But that's not the important thing, right? Like that's not the mission.
Okay. Is there anything else? I think we're just gonna sidestep Mozilla as a character entirely at this point. We're just gonna say like his role in the story has been subsumed by the fact that we're putting his boss into the story. So like he was just a mistake to include from the word go. I should have just said, here's a 5-point discount. You can have a relationship with Mr. Big.
Yeah. I have to keep that in mind for next time as well, if it ever comes up.
Yeah, you can just bully me and then you take a much more expensive relationship.
Ollie. This relationship is important. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I just say something like, you know
Listen,
what?
at that point,
At that
point, I would just say, right, just don't take the relationship. Establish using your belief that you're working for this guy, right? You don't have a relationship with him, so when you next want to go and see him, it's just going to be a miserable failure of a meeting, unless you've got really great news for him, because he's going to be difficult.
The funny thing is, like, I did write literally that advice into like my bit of like, here's how you do beliefs.
Yeah.
And like, here's probably the perfect example of it, like working, right?
It's like, actually, you don't need a relationship with the king to be working for the king, because next time you go and see the king and you bring him news of your successful mission, he's actually just come back from hunting and is really tired and just doesn't give a shit about what you're saying. And so he's going to ignore everything you're saying and you're going to get nothing. Like, you're going to accomplish nothing by talking to him next time you meet him, and you're going to have to go on a weird, stupid side adventure where you navigate court politics to be able to actually get.
Go hunting with him.
Yeah, like, you're going to have to do, like, yes, right. It's a belief that, like, if you were interested in that, which I have to assume you are, because, like, if that's the premise your game is on, then you would be. Then let's put in beliefs that make you do that kind of thing, rather than just like, I've got a relationship, I go and talk to him. We are hunting because of scene setting reasons, not because of like you're making a decision. Like, it's not a character decision. It's like oh, what are we doing? That's just I don't know. We're eating something.
Yeah. If we ever decide to do a side project, like, it's just a burning wheel, like, here's how relationships here, here's how beliefs work.
Yeah, I feel like the commentary on relationships and beliefs, like, that we can produce is probably the most useful stuff that we could do for, like, in general, without it becoming a stupid hack that is like completely ignoring the rules, right? For the actual base game, the stuff that we've talked about most and learned most about is that.
Yeah, it just takes some reminding that you've learned that.
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah. Okay.
Competent characters involved, and what are sides? What's wrong?
So, like, the core, like, yeah, if you want to come up with stuff, yeah, go ahead.
Has like surprisingly little to do with the specifics of the big picture.
Yes.
Right? The core conflict feels like it's about, like, and I'm gonna just state this, like, right? Suria's looking to just dismantle the organization.
Yeah.
So that's basically the core conflict, whether or not it gets blown up or not. Right?
Yeah, and it's how you get there. So it's like broken into different steps. It's finding out who these people are, like, and then
getting
to them, breaking the organization to pieces. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. And the sides are you, and then them, and then everyone else is like just milling around the city, getting in your way, right? Because
and both, like,
both you and them, like this is a real secret society bullshit plot here, because no one knows that you know any of this stuff except Kana. And Kana clearly isn't working for the Bud of the Lotus.
Also, Kana, like, doesn't actually know what I know either, because
Kana doesn't know what you know, because she just thinks, like, I guess she found a dead body and then was like, well, that's fine. There's a dead body there. I guess they killed that monster for us. Yeah. Okay. So that's pretty simple. Physical environment. Do you have strong feelings about what the city's like?
I definitely want, like, to steal shamelessly and add, like, floating gardens.
Floating gardens. Okay.
Right, like, areas of the cities are also, like, effectively waterways.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe city.
Are you looking for something specific?
No, I mean that's about the level I was looking at. And then
Oh no, I meant like, was there something you were looking for in terms of like, here is a picture or like something?
no, I was just typing that.
Mm. Oh.
Yeah, so I guess the refugees would not be in the like floating parts of the city because those are too well managed, and like you have
You're
to
sort of like kept out of there, basically.
yeah, that's the actual, like, you have to build that and make it yourself. Like it's not suitable for shantytown construction.
I
So
wonder
they're
if like
like,
they're downriver though, because
sorry.
like
Um,
upriver is a place like if I was a government, I
yeah,
wouldn't
I
want
guess.
a bunch of like unwashed masses to be polluting the like water supply.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So, but they're further out. They're grouped together in small in slowly growing enclaves.
Hmm.
Okay. Who are the antagonists? We've just covered that. Yeah. Okay. I reckon we got enough to do some
Do some
some
stuff
actual
with now.
beliefs. Yeah, we've got some stuff to do some stuff with. I'm gonna do my best to. I'm gonna prep this way less heavily. I'm gonna prep some characters, put their names together, maybe get some traits in, but I'm not gonna do anything else.
Cool. Okay. So I've got like 2 beliefs I'm super like okay on. Well, I was anyway. Thanks, Ollie. All my hard work is gone now. Right. I
So
think what I can.
what were the beliefs before the session, like before the
So
stuff
there
I
were
told
2 that
you?
were immediately like fleshed out. Like one was about not suffering to live under the same stars as my father's murderers, and like
Yeah,
finding the organization and destroying it.
yeah.
And the second was like basically transplanting the immortality thing straight to like my guiding light belief.
Okay.
But having heard what we have heard, I think what I can say is like I suspect the main like goal, the two like wants lead to the same goal. There we go. It's about getting into the temple, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so to give manage expectations on that, I think getting into the temple will either be like a social thing or like a heist thing, right?
Right, for sure.
So
And I'm starting with a social thing.
yeah, so it will end up feeling a lot more like if we end up successfully getting into the temple, the descriptions of it will be a lot like quicker and looser because I won't need to go room by room at all, really, like except for like a couple of there will be a couple of rooms that are are geographically important in relation to other rooms, but I don't know what those are yet, and it yeah. So that will be a lot simpler.
So I think like my first belief I've changed to I will not suffer to live under the same stars as my father's murderers. I will find the bud of lotus by convincing the priest there to allow me access to the temple's vault.
Priest. Priest in Kuakwatsul.
Yeah. And I gotta copy paste the word. Quanquats. Where did I put that word? I I need the word.
It's at the top in
in
big
the-
letters on this page. I'll make the letters bigger. There we are.
Can't copy that, so I'm just gonna copy it off the letter.
I mean, you can copy it the manual way, right?
Disgusting. And like belief too, I think like having gone through the process of like thinking about it, I'm not going to write one about the refugee crisis.
Okay.
I do so like the 2 points I have is like, and this is the super vague one. It's like, what if I like have some guilt about like failing to save Teo? And like, there's something to that, but also like, what
I think
do I do?
if we're treating refugees and the Monica stuff as more background and bringing things in from elsewhere, maybe we ought to think about a like something else that's going on as well as that.
So
That's
that
more
is the
personal.
second part,
Yeah.
which is like the second belief is like finding the assemblage and like updating or like making my report to like my mentor, right?
Mm.
And like my worry there is like have already like stuff in mind that like can make this an interesting belief to challenge, right? If I wrote like I need to like seek out the assemblage in the city and convince them to help me contact my mentor, like do you have like stuff there you're interested in playing out?
So if the belief was I'm going to find this group of secretive people and convince them to help me talk to my mentor. Um, I guess it lets me introduce a character, like at minimum a character, right?
Right.
And it lets me introduce them and like probably ask for some reciprocal work in
more
exchange.
more spy shit. Like I'm good with
Yeah.
that. Right.
I'm
I
still
guess the
wondering. Like, I'm still wondering about this refugee thing, right? Because like it. Maybe we do want more stuff going on as well. Like one more thing. Um. Oh,
hmm.
maybe there's just like a literal monster just like stalking the streets. Just like we don't know what's going on with this literal monster. It's eating people a bit.
It's a literal monster like running around eating people.
They don't belong in cities. The city guard is doing its best. All of those guys running around with guns keep not managing to kill it, despite the guns that they all have. Like, what's
Like
going on with this? Like,
I have
that's
absolutely nothing against a monster like around the city.
okay.
I'm just wondering like if that like slots in an important way. Right? Like
Uh,
if you have tension in the background, I was just like and like yeah, that's my thing, right? Like I'm happy to have it. Like is this are you thinking of this as additional just like stuff that's going on in the city that might be interesting? We're like sort of laying out the pieces, right? And like maybe they get used, maybe they don't, but they're there and
yes,
established.
it fits in that, right? It fits in
Okay.
that because it's like immediately when you're talking about the assemblage, like I'm thinking like, what can they be? Right. Which of the things that we've established can they be asking you about? right? They can be asking you about like helping them spy on the Otson Sage, which is great. Or they can be asking you about helping with either the refugees or the monarchist movement, right? I think another thing in there as well, like that gives me more options to like decide in favor of. Having a monster wandering around the city, like it's a cool thing to have because we won't have any monsters in this arc unless I put one in.
One of the things like that struck me immediately was like the plague itself as like a point of interest for the assemblage.
Yeah. So yeah. Okay. No, I feel like I'm okay with having like I've adding that one more extra thing has pushed me from the point of like maybe I end up using this all to no, I definitely won't end up using this all, which is a good point to be at. I prefer to be there rather
it doesn't
than
hurt.
Yeah, I prefer being there. Because it makes things feel a bit bigger if nothing else. Yeah, so I feel like the asking the assemblage for help is a good belief. I think you could just skip straight to like I will help the assemblage in return for their assistance.
Yeah, that's the main thing I was
because like
asking about in a roundabout way. I figured out halfway through was like, yeah, is there interesting stuff to play with like in finding them?
In just finding them?
Finding them and like, yeah, because the first step would be like, here, I need to find them, contact them, and like convince them. Right?
The answer is no, Lee. The answer is obviously yes, because although like it's not that interesting in and of itself, like it's a thing that we don't have to expand, right? But because you're saying we want to see it, we do want to see it. We always want to see it because it gives us an opportunity to fail and have things spin out in interesting ways. Yeah, like it gives things an opportunity to have more complex but resulting from play complexity, which is good. So that seems fine. Like the understanding is that it would be it would be replaced, but because there's no way you get out of this without owing them a favor, right? Like there's so the understanding is you're probably going to have to replace that with I'm going to help them achieve their thing as an affiliate. Or you can decide to like burn their operation as well. If you're really unhappy with them. It's like, no, I'm going to destroy the assemblage as well.
They just found them out. I don't know when went down now.
The problem with secret societies is they're secret, and we're just going to break all of them.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out like what a good way of like phrasing the goal in an interesting way, right? Like saying I will seek out the assembly, which in Quackotzel is like okay, but it doesn't really like tell you like here's the specific interesting cool action I am doing to seek them out. Right. We don't want the resolution to be like, here's a circles roll for a secret society bullshit thing.
Lee, let's establish something. Like this is a prime. Let's establish something. What is the over the top complexity like how over the top do we want to go with this, right? Like you have never contacted this agent of the assemblage before, but you somehow need to make yourself known to them, right? I've been reading more spy books than you recently, so I'm not gonna.
I'm wondering if like there is a protocol for like a protocol which is like very over the top and involves like trials to be able to like contact someone, right? It is a very like it is a test of ability. That's what
Okay, so there's two things, right? Number one is the inherent situation of trying to make yourself known to a secret agent of a society that you're part of, but you don't know who they are, is you have to somehow get out in a place that you expect that they will see you. Like you have to correctly guess where they're going to be looking, and then you've got to make yourself really visible and appear to be the correct. So, for example, if we were playing a court intrigue game, it's very easy because everyone knows that the court has like monthly balls. So all you have to do is go to the ball wearing like obvious secret society logos on your lapel, and the person, yeah, the person you're trying to contact will definitely know who you are, and then if you fail all your rolls, then so does everyone else. Right? That's the like really. I don't know
if we want balls. I'm a big fan of balls.
Society balls are not appropriate.
Not the right setting for the cool balls I want. It's a real problem, Ollie. SM will test you. You can even do balls during war.
Yeah.
But not the right setting for it.
Listen, they do. They have great parties in Chandrapur, but like the Otson one's just wrong. They have them outside.
Peace, more than a ball.
Like all of their dancing is like group dancing. It's not one person. So it's like big line dances or like square dances and stuff.
Dancing. So balls are right out. What are we left with?
That was me helping you, by the way. I'm not helping you any more than that.
I'm still having a hard time. Like,
okay.
See, the thing is, like, the route I was proposing was more like a Dan Brown, like, just follow the symbols hidden around the city, and you will finally get there.
The issue with that like it doesn't give me a huge amount.
Yeah,
like
it doesn't give you stuff to play with, and you'd have to come up with a shit ton of stuff to make it work.
I'd have to come up with a lot of stuff to make it work, and the failure consequences feel like they'd end up being harder. Like I've just thought of a good one, but I wouldn't like it would be one of those failure consequences where I'd have to tell you at the time that you failed for it to be effective. So I'm not going to mention it. I don't know if. Well, I wouldn't have to. Like the only failure consequence that I think of is being good is that like you just end up making contact with some people who just aren't the assemblage, and you think they are, but they're just not.
The best kind of secret society bullshit.
Yeah, like you've got in contact with the wrong handler. Like that's a good way that could fall out. But yeah, you could just do something that is. You could do something publicly that they'd obviously be in favor of. So you could say like they make a point of like they always try and get new books, and like when they get new books they spread them around. You could just like turn up with this like new information and start publishing it and being like, here I have these amazing secrets from arts and religion and history. Everyone who wants can have them. And like the conflict with that is that like you need to be not pissing the priests off.
I'm sure the priests are fine with it. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's secret arts and religious history. It's like from a secret temple in the middle of nowhere, and you're trying to get access to another of their secret temples. Like that's actually an okay idea.
So like I'm definitely gonna do that, but like the context in which I'm doing that in is more using that as a like.
I think the method that you're going to.
There's says no 2 minute. You're fine to allow me in.
Yeah, I think the context that that you're going to do this in might just be a thing that's better to think about between the sessions, because you'll have like a week, and like if you want more suggestions, I'm happy to give them to you. Or like
Right.
try and think myself as well. Like because it will just be easier to think with more time as well, right?
Yeah, but like the danger with all that is just like I come to the session and I like still haven't thought of it. So I kind of want something like that's already in there. So like even if I have something written down and that is solid, like we don't have to worry about like, oh no, at the end we might not have something.
So the maximum, like the way that you can most obviously get in contact with the assemblage is by doing their job for them and getting caught on purpose. But that doesn't feel like a very Surreal thing to do. So
that
let's
does not
discount that
like
one.
Contact the secret society.
Hang on, I've just had a thought. How to contact Illuminati? It's a website.
Make
Wow.
a D6. Make a D6 table. There are 6 different ways to do it. It feels like a roll-level table from an OSR game.
This article is not telling me the correct answers of how to join Illuminati. I can't come up with anything particularly amazing. Sorry. Oh, you're about to say something?
Yeah. I'm imagining like, so what I do have, right? What I do know is like if the assemblage is doing anything here, the one thing it is definitely doing is like spying on the odds and sage.
Yep.
Which means like the place I actually have to go to find the assemblage like agents is definitely the court of like, and like I don't mean court in the like kingly. Oh,
you
we
mean his retiree mansion, right? He has a mansion up on the hill. It is.
Unfortunately, there's a circle of like friends, hangers on.
It has open doors. There are constantly like ex military generals and current military officers like hanging around the place, like chatting, seeking advice. The like hangers on of all sorts, servants, people who like from it is a court is not an incorrect word to describe that the feel of that place, right? Because like he's it appeals to the sage's vanity to be holding court in that manner, right? Yeah, and you're right. Going there is the correct thing to do, and so you go there. It's just the question of like that's the place where we know that they're going to be, and they will see you. It's just the question of how you attract their attention, and how you let it be known to them that you're wanting to get contact. And that could be secret code phrases that you're just trying to give out in public. Like one thing that would be really like they'll be watching the Otson Sage. They'll probably be watching conversations he has. They really probably be watching conversations he has with like known alchemists of a semi-famous background. Like you're not completely unknown. And I don't think it's known that you're a member of this society. I think that's a secret affiliation. But like you're Demang Labat's daughter, and his book has just been making the rounds. again, a new of the alchemists at least.
Yeah. It is
So,
only
yeah.
right that I have to pay my respects before
Yeah,
moving
so
on to.
if you have a conversation with the Otson Sage and say things that definitely identify you as a member of the secret society, they will know and they will come back into contact with you.
I'm
You
so
are taking a risk because he's an old and wise man, and what's more, a sage, so he almost certainly knows about the existence of the assemblage.
Maybe he already knows, like what's done is done. Not part of the plan,
I'm really glad about that belief. That's a great belief.
The other thing is like I still have shit for Will. Like, and like
I mean,
this,
what you're doing is you're putting yourself facing down a guaranteed challenging will test.
right?
It's great.
To some degree, right? Like,
Yeah.
Surya is still really bad at will and like social stuff, and it will begin showing quite obviously in this like next arc.
It's gonna be great. You're gonna have to like do disgusting alchemy on yourself to become better at being nice to people. I hear that's the way to make friends and influence people.
First, you have to like know you're bad at it, though, which is the tricky bit.
Realize you're bad at social stuff. Modify your own brain to be better.
Knowing is the first step.
Great.
Right, I'm satisfied with this. We're going to need a name for the odds and saves now, for sure.
Yes, I will name him and burn him up properly between sessions. I have a short list of things because I'll need to create the assemblage contact as well. Okay.
I did change some of my instincts.
Share knowledge with the ignorant. Demand the respect due to my lineage. I think that's new.
Yeah, that is new.
Never turn down the opportunity to collect rare antecedents. That's definitely new and a much better way to put it, while still using the that's a much better
being able to get myself in trouble.
Yeah. Cool. Did we want? I don't think it actually was enough time, and it's been ages since then as well. I don't think there was actually enough time, number of sessions to actually do a full trait vote. So we will not do one unless you feel very strongly
I cannot remember most of this.
Yeah,
it's been months.
It's been a while.
Yeah,
I don't think you feel that strongly. I don't feel that strongly about any of your traits. I don't think there's anything really crying out for inclusion or removal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Great.
I'm gonna enjoy trying to finagle like the entirety of my alchemist workshop into like the new city. Come in with like 2 carriages.
Yes. Hang on. I'm gonna make a note. If you want to actually use an alchemist workshop, you're gonna need to bargain for use of one, right?
Yeah, because I have the stuff, I need the space as well,
Yeah, like I probably should have been making you do everything at plus obstacle for not having a full workshop. Just using
I had a toolkit, which
you had a
was
toolkit. Yeah. But I'd have to. I think if I want to do that, I'd have to write it into the rules. I think currently, workshop is like bonus dice, maybe.
A workshop is like it allows you to do stuff in a workshop. I think. I have to double check.
Yeah, it ought to be. It ought to be either bonus dice or toolkit as a plus obstacle versus because in some way you want to recognize the differing level of
alchemy.
Yeah, you've got the granularity there available for use, so you may as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool. Good chat. I'm looking forward to next week as well. I'm not sure which day we're going to do it on. I think
we're going to have to set a date.
We'll have to. we'll
Possibly.
have to start making it consistent at some point. I think next week. I'm sorry, I'm not sure whenever we actually do it next week will be the date that
Fixed.
that becomes fixed. But we'll work it out.
Yeah, it'll be like one like. I'm not sure about time as well because it's definitely not this time. Whatever ends up happening
No, definitely not.
this year.
This is a very odd time. It might be earlier, or possibly like in the other
Later.
slot. Yeah.
Yeah.
But not as early as you messaged me. Like, I'm not getting up at 6 to do this.
Yeah, I just messaged you because I was okay.
You
I'm
saw I was
done.
online.
No,
Yeah.
it was mainly just like I'm
I
done.
see.
I can message Ollie,
Yeah.
and then whenever he's ready, he can like jump
Cool.
in.
Good. Good chat. This has worked out well. I'm glad you seemed to enjoy the revelations at the end of that arc, and I regret only that I didn't get to reveal them to everyone.
Well, it's here. It's out.
Yeah.
You can link it.
Yeah.
And then we can find out after tomorrow.
Sure. Thanks a lot. Bye.
All right.